Come on, come in. Welcome, welcome.
That's my new intro, everyone. I figured I'd see a little movie clip. I feel like they can't bust me for putting, like 5 seconds of a movie clip in there. But maybe they will. Welcome, everyone. Another chapter we're going to read today. The Stairs of Cirith Ungol. Apparently you guys say it's one of the better ones, too. So I'm pretty pumped. It's a good intro. Good, I'm glad. I've heard this chapter is good. Don't know anything about it, obviously. I'm guessing this is where they go up the stairs and into the tunnel. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We're going to do what we normally do. We're just going to hang out and chat for like a solid 15 minutes. And then we're going to start. 5:15 is when we'll start. 5:15. We'll start reading. I got to figure out a better way to put this mic. I should do like a boom mic or something like that. This mic is really annoying, but it works. This one and the next 3 are actually insane chapters. Good. I like that. I like hearing that. I'm excited. Not that like, I think from the moment they went into Ithilien, there was like more action-packed chapters. But, ooh, Cecilia, good luck. Enjoy sleep. Things really ramp up. I love that they ramp up here. Because not that like their journey's been boring. I've actually loved their journey. I could read Frodo and Sam just chilling and having a good time. And like every little day of their journey forever. But at the moment, it's not like the most scintillating. Actually, it is. It's really scintillating. But it's not the most action-packed. That's the word I'm looking for. Oh, Revenant, thank you for the gifted membership. That's incredible. Also, guys, quick note. There's like a little sub-goal. I will do this eventually, whenever we hit the sub-goal. Not the sub-goal. What is that? The chat goal. Maybe I'll hit it with a sub-goal, too, if we hit like 10,000. Or not 10,000, 20,000 or something. We'll do like a Lord of the Rings trivia. Lizzie gave me a bunch of Lord of the Rings quotes, and they were so hard for me to figure out who said them. So we'll make a trivia night where we just like read quotes and like I come up with like good things in the books that might stump you guys, and we can have like a fun trivia night. I'll figure out how to run that. But also make sure you like the stream too, everyone, just so this can get out to more Lord of the Rings nerds. Faramir speaks fluent Sindarin, and Cirith Ungol means Pass of the Spider. Interesting. Faramir doesn't know it's in Cirith Ungol. Yeah, I guess you could do the math. Yeah, it could just be a bunch of little, it doesn't mean pass. Yeah, it could just mean there's a bunch of little spiders in a cave. It might not be like, the biggest one. It could just be like a bunch of mini spiders. It doesn't mean the pass of the giant monster spiders. I wonder what that is in Sindarin. What is giant in Sindarin? You can Cirith Mega Ungol. That'd be like Greek mixed with Sindarin. What languages do you guys speak? Anybody? I mean, you guys are English speakers because I'm an English speaker, and you guys are following the channel. But I'm curious, what other languages do you guys know? Anybody know any ancient or dead languages? That's the fun question. Cirith Ungoloth. Hebrew? No way. That's cool. That's a beautiful looking language. Speak a little Spanish and a little German. Love that. Used to speak German 25 years. Hungarian does count. Hungarian's a pretty dope language. I had a friend who spoke Hungarian. Lived in Hungary for like 10 years. Random. So random. No way. ASL, that's so cool. I know some people who do ASL. One of my friends married someone who was from, what's that deaf college? Gallaudet. They married, I think they went there for grad school and they married someone from there. So she is, what's the term? Why can't I think of the term? She's a speaker. She's a verbal She's verbal and he's deaf. But the relationship is really cool. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Scottish Gaelic. I've heard Scottish Gaelic is actually very, very difficult. Someone that I know is also trying to read Harry Potter in Scottish Gaelic. I think Scottish Gaelic. Or maybe ancient like Iric or something like that. And they say it's actually really, really difficult. Giant in Sindarin is Norsa. So it'd be Cirith Ungol. That's a cool name for it. That's if that was the actual name of the pass, they'd know there's a giant spider that lives there. Uthak talk? What is that? Is that in this chapter? Am I gonna have to say some weird pronunciations for things? Because everyone knows how terrible I am at pronunciations. I'm getting better. We're getting there. We're getting there. Is it Quenya or Kenya? There's Irish and Scottish Gaelic and Welsh Hobbit publications now too. Dang. Oh guys, I was in Barnes and Noble because I had to get. This is what I do. I'm a loser. I'm cool to you guys because I think this is what all of us would do. Quenya. Okay. I have the junky copies of these, but I can't just have the junky copies of these. I had to get the good copies, and I got each of the good ones when I was just about finished with one of them. So I was picking the Return of the King up, which I think the Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite looking one, by the way. Like the green, it's a good green color. I was picking the Return of the King up, and the guy who was checking me out was like, you could tell he just wanted to talk about Tolkien. So we got like chatting about Tolkien for a little bit, and he was like, when he saw the book, he was like, he's like, I don't know if we have it in stock, but we actually used to carry a copy of Lord of the Rings in Latin. And I was like, no way. I was like, that must not have been the most popular book on the bookshelves. And he was like, surprisingly, that one's sold pretty well. And we just got to talking about that copy. And he was like, we don't sell it in store anymore, but you can order it. There's a Latin copy of, I think, The Hobbit. I think he said The Hobbit. I don't think it was the full Lord of the Rings. I think it was just The Hobbit. Maybe it was the full Lord of the Rings. But it was a really cool looking book. I love it. You guys actually have The Hobbit in Latin. That makes me so happy. I knew that was not going to fall on deaf ears. I knew you guys would probably either have it or know about it. Yeah, the paperback with the Alan Lee illustration, because that's the 50th anniversary edition. I actually was thinking about getting that one because it really is beautiful. Alan Lee's illustrations are just stunning. They're so nice. Also, everyone, just every once in a while, I'm going to throw out a reminder, like the stream so that more people can watch this that are into Lord of the Rings, and it gets out to more of the algorithmic things. Lord of the Rings in Latin doesn't exist, only The Hobbit. Okay, so it's probably The Hobbit that he was talking about. He probably mentioned The Hobbit, I just forgot. So it's definitely The Hobbit. We read it in church. Imagine some Latin, or imagine some priest gets up there and just starts reciting Latin, the Latin version of The Hobbit, a passage from The Hobbit. Lord of the Rings in French, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I want Lord of the Rings in Elvish. I want Elvish isn't a full and complete language, right? I don't think it is, because I think they someone tell me, did he fully and complete all of the languages that he did, or no? I think Duolingo tried to have some of them, but I don't think that they had all of them. Because I was going to say, it'd be kind of fun to have, I feel like that would actually sell out well. Someone finish the Elvish language and then translate these books into Elvish and then sell them. Oh my gosh, it'd be incredible. Yeah, I have to say, I am a Ted Naismith fanboy. He's probably my favorite illustrator. I like Alan Lee, and I like John Howe. I think they did good. Some of their illustrations are interesting. They did a lot of illustrations, but I think Ted Naismith and his imagination is, it's incredible. So how many languages did he make up for this? Because Quenya like the trade language or something like that? Why is Quenya seem like the most popular? Yeah, Naismith isn't great for human figures. I will say that because he changes his characters and what they look like almost every single drawing, which is fine. He's just like, he's changing them. Someone reads the book of Genesis in Quenya? That's actually insane. Lord of the Rings in original Westron? Some people are translating the Bible into Sindarin, and I've done all of the New Testament and much of the Old. That is so cool. I love that. I love that people just have the time to do that. That makes me so happy. Also, hello. Welcome. Quenya is like Elf Latin. Sindarin is more commonly spoken. Okay, so Sindarin so let me get this right. What is Elvish a language? Or no? Do they speak Quenya? Quenya is Elf Latin. Sindarin is the Elf lingua franca, means like language of like use. What does franca mean? The trade language? I'm guessing trade language. Quenya would be more common in Valinor. Interesting. Elvish both are Elven languages. Okay. So is Elvish like those two genres, those two subgenres, and if you speak Elvish, you either speak Quenya or Sindarin? Are there any other subgenres in that? Technically, the hobbits have all names. Means trade languages. Okay. Quenya is like the precursor to Sindarin. Interesting. There is Sylvan Elvish? Interesting. Okay. Keep going. Tell me more. What do the dwarves speak? Spoken in Mirkwood and Lothlorien. It is kind of ironic that English is the world's lingua franca now. Dwarves speak Kudzul. Okay, interesting. Dwarvish? Kudzul. What's the accent on? The first or the second? Is it Kudzul or Kudzul? Elven Legolas. Even Legolas barely spoke the language of Lorien. Interesting. Huh. Kuzdul. Yeah, the orcs have language too. That's actually interesting. And they couldn't understand each other too, right? That was a crazy chapter. I want to revisit that chapter. I'm excited to revisit that chapter on my second time read to talk about just their languages and like what they would say to each other. All right, we're going to start reading in like 5 minutes. What is Aragorn? Aragorn has to speak Sindarin, right? No? Yeah, maybe. Frodo's real name is Mora, and Sam's is Banazir. Is that in the Elvish language? So is Westron just like the language of Middle-earth? What is Westron? I keep seeing that's Westron. The black speech is explained in the appendix. Okay, I'm actually really interested in that. I don't know if that would be like, is that live read worthy? Is that a live stream worth? I feel like that'd be kind of interesting. We just like figuring out the languages, but maybe that's not the most scintillating content. Middle-earth common speech, common tongue, Westron is translated into English. Okay. Spoke 2 types of Elvish, Númenórean, Rohirrim, and Westron. Huh. Aragorn speaks Sindarin and Quenya based on the movie's apparently insults in Kuzdul. Yeah, that's true because he stops. Doesn't he say that was not very polite? What is? I saw this once. What does Gimli say in the movies? Doesn't he say like I spit on your graves or something like that? Because he says something. Does he say something in Kuzdul or does he say it in Elvish? And he's just like giving them an Elvish curse. You know what I mean? You know what that scene in the movies? What does he say? Like Ish Kakweel? He speaks Kuzdul there, but does he speak it in that one instance in the movies? You guys know what I'm talking about? Hold on, let me try to find like Gimli insults Haldir. So it was Dwarvish or is that a typo? Is it Dravish? No, not already reading. So you you just made it. We're gonna start reading in like 2 minutes. Kuzdul, okay. Or Kuzdul? Is it Kuzdul? So he's speaking in is it Kuzdul or Kuzdul? Kuzdul. Gosh. Okay, Kuzdul. Neo Kuzdul, made up for the movies. That's kind of cool that Tolkien barely developed it because it's a it's a secret language. May your necks be stiff or something like that. I thought it was I thought it was like I spit on your grave or something like that. Gimli. Oh, here we go. Okay, so Gimli insults Haldir with the phrase "Ish Kaquil I Drungnul." This phrase, which is in Kuzdul, a Dwarvish language, is commonly translated "I spit on your grave." The insult is a response to Haldir's statement that the elves have no dealings with the dwarves since the dark days. Ryan, sticking around. All right. Welcome, welcome. Everyone, like the stream so this can get out some more Tolkien people. And we're going to start reading in 2 minutes. We'll start reading in 2-minute warning, everyone. Get your popcorn out. Get ready. I need some water. I should have brought some water. I'll be right. If I need water halfway through, I'll run. Baruch Kazad. What does that mean again? I always forget what that means. Isn't he just saying like dwarves, right? Huh. The dwarves' axes. Love that. The axes of the dwarves are upon you. Gosh, that's actually terrifying. I would poop my pants if I heard that. The dwarves are upon you. Oh my gosh, that's actually terrifying. All right, everyone. You guys ready? The dwarves would technically not use their language in the presence of non-dwarves, even to insult. So that was a bad movie line that they did then. Because Gimli would never do that. Gimli's too honorable. But did he do it? Wait, time out. He did it in the book? I feel like the battle cry is different from like an actual insult. What did he say in Helm's Deep? I thought he said, Gimli screams Khazad at Helm's Deep. And then, yeah. But that's all he screams. He doesn't scream. He doesn't, like, say that insult to Haldir in the books, which is important. Hold on, let me turn on a light so I don't look so green and blue. I still look a little blue, but it's all right. I still look a little pale. I'm a pale dude. If Gimli son of Glowin wants to insult you, he would make sure it was in a language you spoke so it would hurt more. That's the truth. That is the truth. Also, guys, make sure you like the stream. If we get 10, what are they called? Super chats, we'll start a trivia night. I will run a Lord of the Rings trivia night, which sounds pretty fun. So we're going to start reading. Hold on, as soon as I figure this out, give me a second. Refresh. There we go. I look well tanned. All right, here we go. We're going to start. This is the Stairs of Cirith Ungol. What is this, chapter 7? No, chapter 8. Chapter 8. The Stairs, and if I get any pronunciations wrong, the Stairs of Cirith Ungol. Gollum was tugging at Frodo's cloak and hissing with a fear and impatience. "We must go," he said. "We mustn't stand here. Make haste." Reluctantly, Frodo turned his back on the west and followed as his guide led him, out into the darkness of the east. They left the ring of trees and crept along the road toward the mountains. This road, too, ran straight for a while, but soon it began to bend away southwards until it came right under the great shoulder of rock that they had seen from the distance. Black and forbidding it loomed above them, darker than the dark sky behind. Crawling under its shadow, the road went on, and rounding, it sprang east and began to climb steeply. This is actually kind of terrifying because, again, they don't know really what's going on here. Like, the little terror that's in this place. So they're getting ever closer to this without really knowing what the heck is up in Cirith Ungol. That's a scary description. Frodo and Sam were plodding along with heavy hearts, no longer able to care greatly about their peril. Frodo's head was bowed. His burden was dragging him down. Interesting. I feel like that is almost... I think I'm going to be wrong about this. Frodo's head was bowed. His burden was dragging him down. I feel like that's the first time that the ring has actually dragged him down, or like had a... I don't want to say a physical debilitation to him, because that's not true. It's affected him before, but this is the first time I think in this way he's hurting. It gets psychologically heavier. I feel like it's even more than psychological, though. This is where Frodo starts going south. I feel like this is when he's going to start struggling. The ring is really going to have a grip on him to some extent, and it's going to become heavier and heavier, and I think Frodo is going to struggle through this. We'll see. Also, Alex Ray, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're watching. This feels like the first time that Frodo is really encountering like the ring being heavier. Anyway, as soon as the great crossroads had been passed, the weight of it, almost forgotten in Ithilien. So that's interesting because it said it's almost forgotten in Ithilien. Maybe the weight of it was growing larger, and then in Ithilien it seemed to get heavier, or it seemed to be forgotten, and then it's growing heavier again. Almost forgotten in Ithilien had begun to grow once more. Okay. Now feeling the way become steep before his feet, he looked wearily up, and then he saw it. Even as Gollum had said that he would. The city of the ring wraiths. He cowered against the stony bank. The city of the ring wraiths. That's actually terrifying to read in text, because I kind of know. I feel like that is actually terrifying if you think about that. These things that have been chasing them for months. He's going into their city. Because in the movie, it felt like it was just more like the why am I blanking on his name? What's the head Nazgul? The Witch King. The Witch King of Angmar? It feels like that was just his place. Like, that's where he was hanging out. But now it's the city of Ringwraiths. He cowered against the stony bank. A long tilted valley, a deep gulf of shadow, ran back far into the mountains. Upon the further side, some way within the valley's arms, high upon a rocky seat upon the black knees of the Ephel-Duath, stood the walls and towers of Minas Morgul. All was dark about it, earth and sky, but it was lit with a light. Not the imprisoned moonlight welling through the marble walls of Minas Ithil long ago. Tower of the moon, fair and radiant in the hollow hills. Paler indeed than the moon, ailing in some slow eclipse, was the light of it now, wavering and blowing like a noisome exhalation of decay. A corpse light, a light that illuminated nothing. Hold on, I gotta read this again. In the walls and tower windows showed like countless black holes looking inward into emptiness. But the topmost course of the tower revolved slowly. First one way, then another. A huge ghostly head leering into the night. For a moment the three companions stood there, shrinking, staring up with unwilling eyes. Gollum was the first to recover. Again, he pulled at their cloaks urgently, but he spoke no word. Almost he dragged them forward. Every step was reluctant, and time seemed to slow its pace, so that between the raising of a foot and the setting of it down, minutes of loathing passed. Yeah, these rocks feel like they're glowing in the dark. That's one of the weirdest descriptions I've read in these books. Hold on. Upon the further side, some way within the valley's arms, high on a rocky seat upon the black knees of the Efelduath, stood the walls and towers of Minas Morgul. It was all dark about it. Earth and sky, but it was lit with light. Huh? Not imprisoned moonlight. Sorry, not the imprisoned moonlight welling through the marble walls of Minas Ithil long ago. Tower of the moon, fair and radiant in the hollow of the hills. Paler indeed than the moon ailing in some slow eclipse. Paler indeed than the moon ailing in some slow eclipse was the light of it now, wavering and blowing like a noisome exhalation of decay. A corpse light, a light that illuminated nothing. In the walls and tower windows showed like countless black holes looking inward into emptiness. But the topmost course of the tower revolved slowly. First one way and then another, a huge ghostly head leering into the night. For a moment the three companions stood there, shrinking, staring up with unwilling eyes. What? Hold on. I know it used to glow, but why is there a tower that's revolving at the top? Is this just some crazy ancient technology? First one way, but the topmost course of the tower revolved slowly. First one way, then another? Is this what the heck is going on? So is this like Sauron's eye? Is this like a description of Sauron's eye? Initially in my head, I thought this was maybe like the one of the fell beasts that's sitting on top of this tower, like looking this way and that. Huh. This is such a bizarre description. So a tower that just like rotates, that they're able to kind of see some of the weird things that go on. Interesting. Okay. This is a very creepy description. Tolkien's going to push into some of his excellent horror writing right here, which I think is honestly one of his best genres, weirdly. I mean, he does every genre well, but the guy knows how to write horror. So it's like the tower is revolving back and forth to keep watch. So like the tower itself is the thing that's keeping watch too. Could be where the Palantir was used. Interesting. I kind of like that. Yeah, it's a creepy place. That's the moral of the story. It's just very creepy. And then it seems like time passes slowly there. Huh. Time moves slowly in Athelion. No, not Athelion, in Lothlorien. Time moves slowly here in a different way, in like a wholly unsettling way. Yeah, kind of like a lighthouse, actually. That's a great description. That actually makes sense for me. Okay. So they came slowly to the White Bridge. Here the road gleamed faintly. Gleaming faintly, passed over the stream in the midst of the valley, and went on, winding deviously up toward the city's gate, a black mouth opening into the outer circle of the northward walls. Wide flats lay on either bank. Shadowy meads filled with pale white flowers. Luminous these were, too, beautiful and yet horrible of shape, like the demented forms in an uneasy dream. And they gave forth a faint, sickening charnel smell. An odor of rottenness filled the air. What is a charnel smell? Hold on, I gotta look this up. Charnel smell. With death and decay. Often likened to the smell of rotting flesh or bones. In a charnel house? What's a charnel house? The term charnel refers to a place like a vault or repository. Interesting. Where human bones are stored. Okay, like a crypt. I don't know if I've ever smelt that smell before. I don't know if I want to smell that smell. Has anybody ever smelt that before? That's creepy. Hard CH. Tarnel. Wait. Hold on. Charnel? Where was that again? Why can't I find that? Here. Charnel smell? Carnel smell? It has to be Carnal smell. Sorry. My pronunciation is all over the place. Okay. Here we go. Keep going. From mead to mead the bridge sprang. A figure stood there at its head, carven with cunning in forms human and bestial, but all corrupt and loathsome. In forms human and bestial. With water flowing beneath, or the water flowing beneath was silent, and it steamed. But the vapor that rose from it, curling and twisting about the bridge, was deadly cold. Frodo felt his senses reeling and his mind darkening. Then suddenly, as if some force were at work, other than his own will, he began to hurry, tottering forward. His groping hands held out, his head lolling from side to side. Both Sam and Gollum ran after him. Sam caught his master in his arms as he stumbled and almost fell, right on the threshold of the bridge. "Not that way! No, not that way!" whispered Gollum. But the breath between his teeth seemed to tear, and the heaviness still. Sam seemed to tear the heaviness. But the breath between his teeth seemed to tear the heavy stillness like a whistle, and he cowered to the ground in terror. This is like, I think there have been subtle things that have happened before, but this truly feels like the first time the ring is really affecting Frodo. Also, there's like the foam or the vapor that's pouring up, but it's cold. This is like dry ice. This is terrifying. Like, everything is backwards in this land. Things are not the way that they should be. Huh. Yeah, this magic evil. The veil is thin here. Yeah, for real. It feels kind of like... This is going to be a terrible analogy. You know, in the movie Hercules, the animated movie, when they go down to the Styx, and it's all like misty and weird down there. It feels like that. That's what, in my mind, this looks like. Hold up, Mr. Frodo, muttered Sam in Frodo's ear. Come back, not that way. Gollum says not, and for once I agree with him. Frodo passed his hand over his brow and wrenched his eyes away from the city on the hill. The luminous tower fascinated him, and he fought the desire that was on him to run up the gleaming road toward its gate. At last, with an effort, he turned back, and as he did so, he felt the ring resisting him, dragging at the chain about his neck. And his eyes, too, as he looked away, seemed for the moment to have been blinded. The darkness before him was impenetrable. So the ring is literally blinding him? Crazy. Oh my gosh. We've had like flashes of this before, but this is like some serious fight. Gollum, crawling on the ground like a frightened animal, was already vanishing into the gloom. Sam, supporting and guiding his stumbling master, followed after him as quickly as he could. Not far from the near bank of the stream, there was a gap in the stone wall beside the road. Through this they passed, and Sam saw that they were on a narrow path that gleamed faintly at first, as the main road did, until climbing above the meads of the deadly flowers, it faded and went dark, winding its crooked way up into the northern sides of the valley. Along this path the hobbits trudged, side by side, unable to see Gollum in front of them, except when he turned back to beckon them on. Then his eyes shone with a green-white light, reflecting the noisome Morgul sheen, perhaps, or kindled by some answering mood within. Of that deadly gleam, and of the dark eye holes, Frodo and Sam were always conscious, ever glancing fearfully over their shoulders, and ever dragging their eyes back to find the darkening path. Slowly they labored on. As they rose above the stench and vapors of the poisonous stream, their breath became easier and their heads clear. But now their limbs were deadly tired, as if they had walked all night under a burden, or had been swimming long against the heavy tide of water. At last they could go no further without a halt. This feels so magic infused. Like this is some stuff of nightmares where there's like a wicked witch who is keeping them physically from being able to do things. And like the higher they go, maybe the less the burden feels, but the more tired they get. And so maybe they want to go back down to rejuvenate their strength. This is actually kind of crazy. This feels so dark magic. Yeah, this feels so like black sorcery, like dark sorcery. The Tower of Sorcery, interesting. Poisoned by the fumes of the stream. Yeah, that's interesting actually. It's like, yeah, these fumes are actually legitimately poisoning them. And it's making them not want to keep going on, which is crazy. This is a creepy place. Oh my gosh. This is maybe one of the places that I would want to go least. This spot is terrifying. They could go no further without a halt. Out of every place we've been so far, I'd probably rather go to any place but this one. It's too mystical, too strange. No, you're not that late. You're like, we're like on page 1. I'm only 1 page into this. So, right on time. Pale green light in the eyes is usually a sign of Gollum's bad side, but maybe it's just a reflection here. Interesting. Yeah, definitely strong Azkaban vibes. 100% with you on that one. Morgul means black sorcery. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of, I could see a lot of influence from other novels and other stories from just this one instance right here. This is so creepy. My dog is on the bed on his back playing. He's a cutie. Frodo stopped and sat down on a stone. They had now climbed up to the top of a great hump of bare rock. Ahead of them there was a bay in the valley side. And around the head of this path went on. Hold on. Ahead of them, there was a bay in the valley side. Where is this bay? What else does this bay mean? Hold on. I'm thinking of bay as in like a bay of water. What else does bay mean? Can't mean water. Does it mean that water? Does it mean this is emptying out into like a pool? All this water? That's not a place I would want to go swimming. Pretty gross. A dry bay. Okay. That makes more sense. Just the shape of a bay. Okay. A bay is a scoop, an open space in the rock, or a bay window. Yeah, a bay window makes sense. There was a bay in the valley side, and around the head of this path went on no more than a wide ledge with a chasm on the right. Across the sheer southward face of the mountain it crawled upward until it disappeared into the blackness above. What's up, Wes? Want to come read? My dog's just looking at me like I'm crazy. I must rest a while, Sam, whispered Frodo. It is heavy on me, Sam, lad, very heavy. I wonder how far I can carry it. Anyway, I must rest before we venture onto that. He pointed to the narrow way ahead. Sorry, I gotta wait for my dog to stop drinking so I can... He's distracting me. Shh, shh, hissed Gollum, hurrying back to them. Shh. His fingers were on his lips and he shook his head urgently, tugging at Frodo's sleeves. He pointed toward the path, but Frodo would not move. Not yet, he said, not yet. Weary and more than weary oppressed him, or weary and more than weariness oppressed him. It seemed as if a heavy spell was laid on his mind and body. I must rest, he muttered. At this, Gollum's fear and agitation became so great that he spoke again, hissing behind his hand, as if to keep the sound from unseen listeners in the air. Not here, no, not rest here. Fools, eyes can see us. When they come to the bridge, they will see us. Come away, climb, climb, come. Come, Mr. Frodo, said Sam. He's right again. We can't stay here. All right, said Frodo in a remote voice, as of one speaking half asleep. I will try. Wearily, he got to his feet. Oh, Frodo, I love that. He's so tough. He's so brave. This feels like one of those moments where in like a story where you come across this enchanted land that makes you fall asleep and then all of a sudden you're ensnared by the witch or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I know this is for sure the ring causing him to be like a little sleepy, but this also has to be the magic of this land that's causing him specifically to sleep. Because maybe they just want him to sleep right on this bridge and then they'll just come out and take the ring. Yeah, the old forest, honestly. It's so creepy. This is like very like cautionary children's tale kind of stuff. Like Brothers Grimm. Poppies and the Wizard of Oz, yeah. Definitely the fumes too. Yeah, the burden being so great, it's actually like, yeah, for sure. RAFO. Alrighty, let's keep going. I love when we have more pages left. It gets me really excited. But it was too late. At that moment, the rock quivered and trembled beneath them. The great rumbling noise, louder than ever before, rolled in the ground and echoed in the mountains. Then, with searing suddenness, there came a great red flash. Far beyond the eastern mountains, it leapt into the sky and splashed the lowering clouds with crimson. Is that Mount Doom erupting? In that valley of shadow and cold, deathly light, it seemed unbearably violent and fierce. Peaks of stone and ridges like notched knives sprang out in staring black against the uprushing flame in Gorgoroth. Then came a crack of thunder. And Minas Morgul answered. That's terrifying. Oh my gosh. There was a flare of livid lightnings, forks of blue flames springing up from the tower, from the encircling hills into the sullen clouds. The earth groaned, and out of the city there came a cry, mingled with harsh high voices as of birds of prey and the shrill neighing of horses wild with rage and fear. There came a rending screech, shivering, rising swiftly to a piercing pitch beyond the range of hearing. The hobbits wheeled round toward it and cast themselves down, holding their hands upon their ears. Oh my gosh, this is so scary. Oh my gosh. Yeah, seriously, it feels like Sauron is like giving the Witch King the go ahead, and then the Witch King's like, all right, I gotcha. It is a good scene in the movies. They do it really good justice, because this is when they're crossing, and then Gandalf and Pippin are looking across, and they see the big green thing, big green beam. I wonder if it's going to be a big green beam. Yeah, the screech of the Witch King is really terrifying. Ah, that's a cool point. It's like the counterpoint of Gondor's beacons. I hope the beacons are in the book. They got to be in the book, right? I'm going to be playing that. Whenever that comes up, I'm going to play that, the score, because that score is one of my favorite scores ever. It's one of the best. As the terrible cry ended, falling back through a long, sickening wail to silence, Frodo slowly raised his head. Across the narrow valley, almost on a level with his eyes, the walls of the evil city stood, and its cavernous gate, shaped like an open mouth with gleaming teeth, was gaping wide. And out of the gate an army came. All that host was clad in sable, dark as the night. Against the wan walls and the luminous pavement of the road, Frodo could see them. Small black figures in rank upon rank, marching swiftly and silently, passing outwards in an endless stream. Before them went a great cavalry of horsemen moving like ordered shadows, and at their head was one greater than all the rest. A rider, all black, save that on his hooded head he had a helm like a crown that flickered with a perilous light. Now he was drawing near the bridge below. So he's on horseback? No way. Now he was drawing near the bridge below, and Frodo's staring eyes followed him, unable to wink or withdraw. Surely there was the Lord of the Nine Riders returned to Earth to lead his ghastly host to battle. Here indeed, was the haggard king whose cold hand had smitten down the ring bearer with his deadly knife. The old wound throbbed with pain, and a great chill spread toward Frodo's heart. Honestly, I will say too, this is actually kind of great in the movie, because there's a scene when the ring wraith flies over and Frodo is going like this. He's covering his ears, and then he covers his chest where the wound is. Yeah, no spoilers here, everyone. Just be careful. I really don't want spoilers. I actually think, I feel like this would be more, I don't know. I think the spectacle of the fell beasts is a little more terrifying, but this just by itself, with the rider at the front leading his orc army out, almost seems more terrifying to me. Like he is marching with them rather than just like sending them off to battle. He's leading this. Man, this is legitimately terrifying. This is scary. As these thoughts pierced him with dread and held him bound as with a spell, the rider halted suddenly, right before the entrance of the bridge, and behind him all the host stood still. There was a pause, a dead silence. Maybe it was the ring that called to the ring wraith, or that called to the wraith lord. For a moment he was troubled, sensing some other power within his valley. This way and that turned the dark head helmed with and crowned with fear. This way and that turned the dark head, helmed and crowned with fear, sweeping the shadows with unseen eyes. Frodo waited, like a bird at the approach of a snake, unable to move. And as he waited, he felt, more urgent than ever before, the command that he should put on the ring. But great as the pressure was, he felt no inclination now to yield to it. He knew that the ring would only betray him, and that he had not, even if he had put it on, the power to face the Morgul king. Not yet? Oh, excuse me? Not yet. I love that attitude, Frodo. He's like, soon, but not yet. I'm not ready yet. So the Witch King actually sensed him? Hold on one second. This might be a short essay, just like how different this is. Terrifying stuff. Some Denethor battles in the chat right now. All right, let's keep reading. There was no longer any answer to that command in his own will. Dismayed by terror though it was, and he felt only the beating upon him of a great power from outside. It took his hand. And as Frodo watched with his mind, not willing it, but in suspense, as if he looked on some old story far away, it moved the hand inch by inch toward the chain upon his neck. Then his own will stirred. Slowly it forced the hand back and set it to find another thing. A thing lying hidden near his breast. Cold and hard it seemed in his grip, and his grip closed on it. The phial of Galadriel. So long treasured and almost forgotten till that hour. As he touched it for a while, all thought of the ring was banished from his mind. He sighed and bent his head. Hold on. There was no longer any answer to the command in his own will. Dismayed by terror though he was, and felt only the beating upon him of a great power from outside. It took his hand. I'm guessing Frodo's. This hand is taking Frodo's hand. This power is taking Frodo's hand. And as Frodo watched with his mind, not willing it but in suspense, as if it looked on some old story far away, it moved the hand inch by inch toward the chain upon his neck. Then his own will stirred, and he's fighting this. Slowly it forced his hand back and set it to find another thing. A thing lying hidden near his breast. Cold and hard it seemed to grip. Cold and hard it seemed as his grip closed on it. The phial of Galadriel. So long treasured and almost forgotten until that hour. As he touched it, for a while all thought of the ring was banished from his mind. He sighed and bent his head. What the heck is going on? Okay, this is actually crazy to me. This is like, I don't know anything about the phial of Galadriel here, or really what is in this. But it seems like a fight. Like, it seems like a counter to the Ring of Power. Like, this is blowing my mind because I want to write an essay on this, but I don't know if I can write an essay on this because I don't know what the phial is. But the only point in this essay would just be, this feels like it was made by the elves specifically to counteract. Wait, so in the phial is the light of an elven star, or like the likeness of a light of an elven star? It's not the actual light of the elven star, right? I don't really know what the elven stars are. Okay, so the phial's a little bit of a... Okay. Yeah, don't give me like spoilers for the Silmarillion. You can tell me a little bit. It's part of a Silmaril. Okay. Is it part of a Silmaril? I don't really even understand or know what Silmarils are, to be honest. I want spoilers on that too. I know that they're like, the heart of Elvendom or something like that. But if this is it, then this should be this is a counterbalance of the ring. I'm so curious. When I get to the Silmarillion, that'll be the essay for this. When I learn what the Silmarillion is, I'll revisit this and it'll completely transform my reading. Because I'm sure this is like a counterbalance for it, almost like a counterpoison for it. I love that Frodo's about to touch the ring and then he just touches the phial and it kind of heals him. He sighed and bent his head. At that moment, the Witch King turned and spurred his horse and rode across the bridge. And all his dark host followed him. Maybe the elven hoods defied his unseen eyes, and the mind of his small enemy, being strengthened, had turned aside his thought. But he was in haste. Already the hour had struck, and at his great master's bidding, he must march with war into the west. Soon he had passed like a shadow into shadow, down the winding road, and behind him still the black ranks crossed the bridge. So great an army had never issued from that vale since the days of Isildur's might. No host so fell and strong in arms had yet assailed the fords of Anduin. And yet it was but one, and not the greatest host of Mordor now sent forth. Dang, that's terrifying. More terrifying stuff here. Yeah, I'm not going to read any of this stuff because I just see someone saying spoilers. So I'm not going to read any of that. All my notes in this chapter are just highlighting a passage and just writing terrifying. Man. It's actually scary that he's on a horse. There's a much deeper aspect of possession here than it seems that like the movies really have. Like whatever is going on here, this thing seems truly and utterly possessed by Sauron. Ugh, creepy. Frodo stirred, and suddenly his heart went out to Faramir. The storm has burst at last, he thought. Oh, I love that he's thinking of Faramir here. The storm has burst at last, he thought. This great array of spears and swords is going to Osgiliath. Will Faramir get across in time? He guessed it. But did he know the hour? And who can now hold the fords when the King of the Nine Riders comes? And other armies will come. I am too late. All is lost. I tarried on the way. All is lost. Even if my errand is performed, no one will ever know. There will be no one I can tell. It will be in vain. Overcome with weakness, he wept. And still, the host of Morgul crossed the bridge. Dude, I want to hug Frodo so much. I am... Oop, there goes my fire. There goes my fire engine over there, alerting me that it's 6. Give me 1 second. It's going to ring another time. I think it's going to ring one more time. I forgot how many times it rings. Just 3. We're good. I am too late. All is lost. I tarried on the way. All is lost. Even if my errand is performed, no one will ever know. There will be no one I can tell. It will be in vain. Overcome with weakness, he wept. Ugh. Then at a great distance, as if it came out of memories of the Shire, some sunlit early morning, when the day called and the doors were opening, he heard Sam's voice speaking. Wake up, Mr. Frodo, wake up. Had the voice added, your breakfast is ready, he would hardly have been surprised. Certainly Sam was urgent. Wake up, Mr. Frodo, they're gone, he said. There was a dull clang. The gates of Minas Morgul had closed. The last rank of spears had vanished down the road. The tower still grinning across the valley, but the light was fading in it. The whole city was falling back into a dark, brooding shade and silence. Yet still it was filled with watchfulness. Wake up, Mr. Frodo, they're gone. We'd better go too. There is something still alive in that place. Something with eyes, or a seeing mind if you take me. And the longer we stay in one spot, the sooner it will get onto us. Come on, Mr. Frodo. Sam, I love Sam. Hold on, I gotta talk about Frodo weeping here. That's actually so sad. Is this the actual first time that Frodo weeps? I feel like this is the first time in the book that Frodo actually does weep. I don't know. Dang, that's a sad moment. Frodo's like lowest moment right here so far, I think. I think he's maybe shed a tear here or there, but that might be the first time he's actually wept. Anyway, Frodo raised his head and stood up. Despair had not left him, but the weakness had passed. He even smiled grimly, feeling now as clearly as a moment before he had felt the opposite. That what he had to do if he could. And that whether Faramir or Aragorn or Elrond or Galadriel or Gandalf or anyone else ever knew about it was beside the purpose. He took his staff in one hand. The staff! Hey! This is so sad. And the phial in his other. When he saw that the clear light was already welling through his fingers, He thrust it into his bosom and held it against his heart. The turning from the city of Morgul, now no more than a gray glimmer across a dark gulf. He prepared to take the upward road. It will pass. Oh my gosh. I'm not gonna I'll probably write maybe like something small on this. I want to write more on like the idea of Frodo encountering despair here. And I know Tolkien's not an allegorical writer, but goodness, does this seem so reminiscent? Like Rowling stole this from Tolkien right here about the Dementors. And this seems such an apt description of like someone who is in the dregs of despair and in like severe depression, and how like there's maybe something small that keeps them clinging on. But I love this determination that Frodo has. Then turning from the city of Morgul, now no more than a gray glimmer across a dark gulf, he prepared to take the upward road. Oh. Not allegorical, but he can be metaphorical. That is such a brilliant line. He's not an allegorical guy, but he's a metaphorical guy. Oh, this is just so good. And I love that the staff is in one of his hands. This staff, this symbol that he's going to come back. And the phial, the symbol of like the purity, I guess. I think it's maybe the purity. I don't really know what this is, but oh, it is so tragic. Now we're getting into the good part of the chapter. Are you kidding me? I feel like this is all so good. Oh, good. I'm pumped. Gollum, it seemed, had crawled off along the edge into the darkness beyond. When the gates of Minas Morgul opened, leaving the hobbits where they lay, he now came creeping back, his teeth chattering and his fingers snapping. "Foolish, silly," he hissed. "Make haste. They mustn't think danger has passed. It hasn't. Make haste." They did not answer, but they followed him onto the climbing ledge. It was little to the liking of either of them, not even after facing so many other perils. But it did not last long. Soon the path reached around the angle where the mountainside swelled out again, and there it suddenly entered a narrow opening in the rock. They had come to the first stair that Gollum had spoken of. The darkness was almost complete, and they could see nothing much beyond their hands' stretch. But Gollum's eyes shone pale, several feet above, as he turned back toward them. "Careful," he whispered. "Steps. Lots of steps. Must be careful." Care was certainly needed. Frodo and Sam at first felt easier, having now a wall on either side. But the stairway was almost as steep as a ladder. And as they climbed up and up, they became more and more aware of the long black fall behind them. And the steps were narrow, spaced unevenly, and often treacherous. And they were worn and smooth at the edges. And some were broken, and some cracked as foot was set upon them. The hobbits struggled on, until at last they were clinging with desperate fingers to the steps ahead, and forcing their aching knees to bend and straighten. And ever as the stair cut its way deeper into the sheer mountain, the rocky walls rose higher and higher above their heads. At length, just as they felt that they could endure no more, they saw Gollum's eyes peering down at them again. "We're up," he whispered. "First stairs past. Clever hobbits to climb so high. Very clever hobbits. Just a few more little steps and that's all. Yes." Creepy, dude. What a creepy little cretin. Yeah, seriously. Vertigo, just thinking about it, shudder. Like Tolkien's had to march a lot in his life because the way he describes these things is just with such clarity. Like that little thing, the hobbits struggled on, clinging with desperate fingers to the steps ahead and forcing their aching knees to bend and straighten. When you are that tired going up these steps, you do that exact thing. You literally force your legs to bend and straighten. It's awful. It's a great description, though. Let's keep going. Dizzy and very tired, Sam and Frodo, following him, crawled up the last step and sat down, rubbing their legs and knees. They were in a dark, deep passage that seemed still to go up before them, though at a gentler slope and without steps. Gollum did not let them rest long. There's another stair still, he said. Much longer stair. Rest when we get to the top of the next stair. Not yet. Sam groaned. Longer, did you say? He asked. Yes, longer, said Gollum, but not so difficult. Hobbits have climbed the straight stair. Next comes the winding stair. And what after that? Said Sam. We shall see, said Gollum softly. Oh, yes, we shall see. Oh, what a freaking cretin. There's a little demon spider that comes next, Sam. Don't go. I thought you said there was a tunnel, said Sam. Isn't there a tunnel or something to go through? Oh, yes, there's a tunnel, said Gollum. But hobbits can rest before they try that. If they get through that, they'll be nearly at the top. Very nearly, if they get through. Oh, yes. Frodo shivered. What a little cretin. Frodo shivered. The climb had made him sweat, but now he felt cold and clammy, and there was a chill draft in the dark passage, blowing down from the invisible heights above. He got up and shook himself. Well, let's go on, he said. There's no place to sit in. Gollum is the worst. I'm going to strangle this little demon. Yeah, giant demon spider. Wait, giant demon spider's daughter, who is also a giant spider? So Shelob is a daughter. That's actually scary. Also, everyone like the stream. Get more Tolkien people out there to watch this stuff. Terrifying stuff going on. Silmarillion reference. Okay. So I learned Shelob's got a mom. I mean, that makes sense. Most creatures have mums. Aragog does seem stolen from Shelob. Demon mom. Interesting. Creepy little spiders. Creepy little guys. This whole chapter is very creepy. Alrighty. Let's keep going. Got 4 or 5 more pages. Yeah, Aragog is not nearly as menacing. Aragog's kind of like nice. Aragog's children, though, on the other hand. The passage seemed to go on for miles, and always the chill air flowed over them, rising as they went on to a bitter wind. The mountains seemed to be trying with their deadly breath to daunt them, to turn them back from the secrets of the high places, or to blow them away into darkness behind them. They only knew that they had come to the end, when suddenly they felt no wall at their right hand. They could see very little. Great black shapeless masses and deep gray shadows loomed above them and about them. But now and again, a dull red light flickered up from the lowering clouds. And for a moment they were aware of tall peaks, in front and on either side, like pillars holding up a vast sagging roof. They seemed to have climbed up many hundreds of feet, onto a wide shelf. The cliff was on their left and a chasm on their right. Gollum led the way, close under the cliff. Hold on, I need to take a break, because it just kind of hit me for a quick second that this might be the chapter that Frodo might get rid of Sam if this is the same in the book and the movie. I had not even considered that. Is it going to be the same or is it going to be different? That could be a movie thing that they added on just to like throw something in there. Yeah, don't spoil anything, especially don't this little section. Oh, I just had a dreadful realization wash over me that this could possibly happen. Oh, I'm all nervous and clammy now, just like Frodo. Delete anything that any spoilers. Ugh. Okay, here we go. Let's keep going. A cliff was on their left and a chasm on their right. Gollum led the way close under the cliff. For the present, they were no longer climbing, but the ground was now more broken and dangerous in the dark, and there were blocks and lumps of fallen stone in the way. Their going was slow and cautious. How many hours had passed since they had entered into the Morgul Valley, neither Sam nor Frodo could any longer guess. The night seemed endless. At length they were once more aware of a wall looming up, and once more a stairway opened before them. Again they halted, and again they began to climb. It was a long and weary ascent, but this stairway did not delve into the mountainside. Here the huge cliff face sloped backwards, and the path, like a snake, wound to and fro across it. And at one point it crawled sideways, right to the edge of the dark chasm, and Frodo, glancing down, saw below him a vast deep pit, the great ravine at the head of the Morgul Valley. Down in its depths glimmered like a glowworm thread the wraith road from the dead city to the nameless pass. He turned hastily away. That's creepy. So he sees the army going. Fatty Bulger coming and killing it. Could you imagine? Fatty Bulger just jumps back into the story. Oh my gosh, that would be incredible. I love good Fatty. I hope Fatty's still alive. That little story of him running away, I'm like, did the ring race catch up with him and kill him? That'd be awful. I hope Fatty's still alive. Still on and up the stairway, bent and crawled, until at last, with a final flight, short and straight, it climbed out again on another level. The path had veered away from the main pass in the great ravine, and it now followed its own perilous course at the bottom of a lesser cleft among the higher regions of the Efelduath. Dimly, the hobbits could discern tall piers and jagged pinnacles of stone on either side, between which were great crevices and fissures, blacker than the night, where forgotten winters had gnawed and carved the sunless stone. This description is so good. And now the red light in the sky seemed stronger, though they could not tell whether a dreadful morning were indeed coming to this place of shadow, or whether they saw only the flame of some great violence of Sauron and the torment of Gorgoroth beyond. So is Gorgoroth Mount Doom? I should look up a map real quick. Gorgoroth is Mount Doom, right? Mordor. The Plateau of Gorgoroth. Orodruin. Gorgoroth is the plain before the mountain. Okay. And Orodruin? Orodruin. Doesn't have an accent mark on the map. Mount Doom. Okay. Good to know. I'll figure out the pronunciation later. Let's keep reading. Orodruin is Mount Doom. Okay. Where did I leave off? Still far ahead and still high above, Frodo, looking up, saw, as he guessed, the very crown of this bitter road. Against the sullen redness of the eastern sky, a cleft was outlined in the topmost ridge. Narrow, deep cloven between two black shoulders. And on either shoulder was a horn of stone. He paused and looked more attentively. The horn upon the left was taller and slender, and in it burned a red light. Wait, against the sullen redness of the eastern sky, a cleft was outlined in the topmost ridge? Is this like a... Hold on. This has to be like a... Hold on. I don't understand this yet. Are these two things carved out of the mountains? They've referenced this as the Watchers before. Is this like the Nazgul version of the Argonath men? Read on, that's explained. That's my problem is always that I ask questions about a paragraph too early. Okay, let's keep reading. Let me reread some of this. Against the sullen redness of the eastern sky, a cleft was outlined in the topmost ridge, narrow, deep cloven between two black shoulders. And on either their shoulders was a horn of stone. He paused and looked more attentively. The horn upon the left was taller and slender, and in it burned a red light, or else the red light in the land beyond was shining through a hole. He saw now it was a black tower poised above the outer pass. Okay, that answers my question. He touched Sam's arm and pointed. I don't like the look of that, said Sam. So this secret way of yours is guarded after all, he growled, turning to Gollum. As you knew all along, I suppose. All ways are watched, yes, said Gollum. Of course they are. But hobbits must try some way. This may be the least watched. Perhaps they've gone all the way to the big battle. Perhaps. Perhaps, grunted Sam. Well, it still seems a long way off. And a long way up before we get there. And there's still a tunnel. I think you ought to rest now, Mr. Frodo. I don't know what time of day or night it is, but we've kept going for hours and hours. Yes, we must rest, said Frodo. Let us find some corner of the wind and gather, or let us find some corner out of the wind and gather our strength for the last lap. For so he felt it to be true. The terrors of the land beyond and the deed to be done there seemed remote, too far off to trouble him. All his mind was bent on getting through or over this impenetrable wall and guard. If once he could do that impossible thing, then somehow the errand would be accomplished. Or so it seemed to him in that dark hour of weariness, still laboring in the stony shadows under Cirith Ungol. Oh. Frodo's like sadness in this chapter makes me sad. Welcome, Philip. Hope you had a good nap. Yeah, I'm on page 361. Probably like halfway through this chapter. Let's see. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe like a page more than halfway. No, we're about a page. We're about halfway. 4 pages in, 4 pages left. A little over half. You're on page 711. Nice. How many of you guys follow along as I'm reading with a book? I would love if you guys did that. Actually, I would maybe be a bit more paranoid if you did that, because then you could catch all the things that I say in my reading. Ungol means spider. Yeah. Someone was saying that at the beginning of the thing. They were saying Cirith Ungol just means pass of the spider, no? I love that you guys follow on your pages. That actually makes me really, really happy. I love this. We're starting a big book club movement here, guys. It's an e-reader. I love that. I'm not a big e-reader fan. I had one for a while. Couldn't really get into it. But it makes more sense, to be honest. Okay, where are we? At the end of that. Okay. In a dark crevice between two great piers of rock, they sat down. Frodo and Sam a little way within, and Gollum crouched upon the ground near the opening. There the hobbits took what they expected would be their last meal before they went down into the nameless land. Maybe the last meal they would ever eat together. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that. That is so sad. I would be weeping if I was eating right here with them. There the hobbits took what they expected would be their last meal before they went down to the nameless land. Maybe the last meal they would ever eat together. Oh, that's so sad. Some of the food of Gondor they ate, and wafers of the way bread of the elves, and they drank a little. But of their water they were sparing and took only enough to moisten their dry mouths. I wonder when we'll find water again, said Sam. But I suppose even over there they drink. Orcs drink, don't they? Yes, they drink, said Frodo. But do not let us speak of that. Such drink is not for us. Then all the more need to fill our bottles, said Sam. But there isn't any water up here. Not a sound or a trickle have I heard. And anyway, Faramir said that we were not to drink any water in Morgul. No water flowing out of Imlad Morgul were his words, said Frodo. We are not in that valley now. And if we came on a spring, it would be flowing into it and not out of it. I wouldn't trust it, said Sam. Not till I was dying of thirst. There's a wicked feeling about this place, he sniffed. And a smell, I fancy. Do you notice it? A queer kind of smell. Stuffy. I don't like it. I love Sam. I don't like anything here at all, said Frodo. Step or stone, breath or bone, earth, air, and water all seem accursed. But so, our path is laid. Yes, that's so, said Sam. And we shouldn't be here at all if we'd known more about it before we started, but I suppose it's often that way. The brave things in old tales and songs, Mr. Frodo. Adventures, as I used to call them. I used to think that they were the things the wonderful folk of stories went out and looked for, because they wanted them, because they were exciting and life was a bit dull, a kind of sport, as you might say. But that's not the way of it with the tales that really mattered, or the ones that stayed in the mind. Folk seem to have been just landed in them. Usually. Their paths laid that way, as he put it. But I expect they had a lot of chances, like us, of turning back, only they didn't. And if they had, we shouldn't know. Because they'd have been forgotten. We hear about those as just went on. And not all to a good end, mind you. At least not to what folk inside a story and not outside of it call a good end. You know, coming home. And finding things all right. Though not quite the same. Like old Mr. Bilbo. But those aren't always the best tales to hear. Though they may be the best tales to get landed in. I wonder what sort of tale we've fallen into. Yeah, this is Tolkien speaking. This is like Tolkien 100% just coming out of the text right here. I gotta reread this paragraph. We'll get to the next little bit, but I want to reread this one because I read that terribly at the first one. And I just want to re-bask in this one because that was a good one. Yeah, very meta conversation here. Let me reread this. So, yes, that's so, said Sam. And we shouldn't be here at all if we'd known more about it before we started. But I suppose it's often that way. The brave things in old tales and songs, Mr. Frodo. Adventures, as I used to call them. I used to think that they were things the wonderful folk of stories went out and looked for, because they wanted them, because they were exciting and life was a bit dull. A kind of sport, as you might say. But that's not the way of it with the tales that really mattered, or the ones that stay in the mind. Folks seem to have just been landed in them. Usually their paths were laid out like that, or usually their paths were laid that, gosh, I can't read the sentence. Folks seem to have been just landed in them usually. Their paths were laid that way, as you put it. There we go. But I expect they had a lot of chances, like us, of turning back. Only they didn't. And if they had, we shouldn't know, because they'd have been forgotten. We hear about those as just went on. And not all to a good end, mind you. At least not to what folk inside a story and not outside it call a good end. You know, coming home and finding things all right, though not quite the same. Like old Mr. Bilbo. But those aren't always the best tales to hear, though they may be the best tales to get landed in. I wonder what sort of tale we've fallen into. I wonder, said Frodo. But I don't know. And that's the way of a real tale. Take any one that you're fond of. You may know or guess what kind of tale it is. Happy ending or sad ending. But the people in it don't know. And you don't want them to. No, sir, of course not. Baron now, he never thought he was going to get that Silmaril from the Iron Crown in Thangradrim. All right, we're getting some lore here. Baron now, he never thought that he was going to get that Silmaril from the Iron Crown in Thangradrim. And yet he did. Baron is Arwen's descendant? No? Baron and Luthien? Yeah, no spoilers here, guys. Hold on one second. I got to write this down because I want to write about that little paragraph. It's like not choosing or knowing your ancestors. Arwen is Baron Luthien's descendant. Or ancestor. Interesting. So he had the Silmaril? That's pretty cool. But that's a long tale, of course. And goes on past the happiness and into grief and beyond it. And the Silmaril went on and came to Arendelle. And why, sir? I never thought of that before. You've got some of the light of it in that star glass that lady gave you. Why, to think of it, we're in the same tale still. It's going on. Don't the great tales never end? That's such a meta thought. Sam's like everything that has come before it is all leading up to this moment. That is actually crazy. Sam the philosopher. It's like when the peasant of the group becomes the smartest one of the group or something like that. No, they never end as tales, said Frodo. But the people in them come and go when their part's ended. Our part will end sooner, or our part will end later, or sooner. And then we can have some rest and some sleep, said Sam. He laughed grimly. And I mean just that, Mr. Frodo. I mean plain, ordinary rest. And sleep. And waking up to a morning's work in the garden. I'm afraid that's all I'm hoping for all the time. All the big important plans are not for my sort. Still, I wonder if we shall ever be put into songs or tales. We're in one, of course, but I mean, put into words, told by the fireside. Or read out of a great big book with red and black letters years and years afterwards. And people will say, let's hear about Frodo and the Ring. And they'll say, yes, that's one of my favorite stories. Frodo was very brave, wasn't he, Dad? Yes, my boy. The most famousest of hobbits, and that's saying a lot. It's saying a lot too much, said Frodo, and he laughed. A long, clear laugh from his heart. Such a sound had not been heard in those places since Sauron came to Middle-earth. To Sam, suddenly it seemed as if all the stones were listening and the tall rocks leaning over them. But Frodo did not heed them. He laughed again. Why, Sam, he said. To hear you somehow makes me as merry as if the story was already written. But you've left out one of the chief characters. Samwise the Stout-Hearted. I want to hear more about Sam, Dad. Why didn't they put in more of his talk, Dad? And that's what I like. It makes me laugh. And Frodo wouldn't have gotten far without Sam, would he, Dad? It's on the next page. This is so good. The power of laughter that, yeah, even the rocks are like craning their necks trying to listen in on this. Now, Mr. Frodo, said Sam, you shouldn't make fun. I was serious. So was I, said Frodo. And so I am. We're going on a bit too fast. Hey, relax. That scared me. Hey, relax. You and I, Sam, are still stuck in the worst places of the story. And it is all too likely that some will say at this point, shut the book now, Dad. We don't want to read anymore. Aw, this is the tough part of the story. Maybe, said Sam. But I wouldn't be the one to say that. Things done and over and made into part of the great tales are different. Why, even Gollum might be good in a tale. Better than he is to have by you, anyway. And he used to like tales himself once, by his own account. I wonder if he thinks he's a hero or the villain. Gollum, he called. Would you like to be the hero? Now, where has he got to again? Oh, this is crushing. Yeah, Frodo kills the mood right there. This is so good. This is really like a meta moment that he comes out of the text right now. And Tolkien wants to just talk a little bit about songs and tales. This is really beautiful. This is so good. There was no sign of him at the mouth of their shelter, nor in the shadows near. He had refused their food, though he had, as usual, accepted a mouthful of water. And then he had seemed to curl up for sleep. They had supposed that one, at any rate of his objects, in his long absence the day before, had been to hunt for food of his own liking. And now he had evidently slipped off again while they talked. But what for this time? I don't like his sneaking off without saying, said Sam. And least of all now. He can't be looking for food up here. Not unless there's some kind of rock he fancies. Why, there isn't even a bit of moss. It's no good worrying about him now, said Frodo. We couldn't have got so far, not even within sight of the pass without him. And so we'll have to put up with his ways. If he's false, he's false. Man, this is like a crazy sad moment. Like, even Sam is like saying Gollum might not even be the villain in his own story. Like, well, I wonder what he thinks, which is like an ominous way to talk about this. I wonder if he thinks he's the villain, the hero, or the villain. Like, that is Tolkien, I think, like alerting us right here, making us think that's actually a really interesting question. What does Gollum view himself as? My dog is really trying to warn. He's like, don't go. Don't do it. Arr. Ominous. It's an interesting question for what Gollum would actually view himself as. There's more. Interesting. Okay. All right, we got another page. So I'm actually like, I get sad that this is ending. I want to keep reading. This is crazy. This is killing me. All the same, I'd rather have him under my eye, said Sam. All the more so if he's false. Do you remember he never would say if this pass was guarded or no? And now we see a tower there. And it may be deserted and it may not. Do you think he's gone to fetch them, orcs or whatever they are? No, I don't think so, answered Frodo. Even if he's up to some wickedness, and I suppose that that's not unlikely. I don't think it's that. Not to fetch orcs, or any servant of the enemy. Why wait till now, and go through all the labor of the climb, and come so near the land he fears? He could probably have betrayed us to orcs many times since we met him. No, if it's anything, it will be some little private trick of his own that he thinks is quite secret. Well, I suppose you're right, Mr. Frodo, said Sam. Not that it comforts me mightily. I don't make no mistake. I don't doubt he'd hand me over to the orcs as gladly as kiss his hand. But I was forgetting. His precious. Now, I suppose the whole time it's been the precious for poor Smeagol. That's the one idea in all his little schemes, if he has any. But how bringing us up here will help him in that is more than I can guess. Very unlikely he can't guess himself, said Frodo. I don't think he's got just one plain scheme in his muddled head. I think he really is, in part, trying to save the precious from the enemy. As long as he can. For that would be the last disaster for himself, too, if the enemy got it. And in the other part, perhaps he's just biding his time and waiting on the chance. Yes, slinker and stinker, as I've said before, said Sam. But the nearer they get to the enemy's land, the more like stinker Slinker will get. Mark my words. If we ever get to the pass, he won't let us really take the precious thing over the border without making some kind of trouble. We haven't gotten there yet, said Frodo. No, but we better keep our eyes skinned until we do. If we're caught napping, Stinker will come out on top pretty quick. Not but what it would be safe for you to have a wink now, master. Safe if you lay close to me. I'd be dearly glad to see you have a sleep. I like to watch over you, and anyway, if you lay near with my arm around you, no one could come pawing you without your Sam knowing it. Sleep, said Frodo, and sighed, as if out of a desert he had seen a mirage of cool green. Yes, even here I could sleep. Sleep then, master. Lay your head in my lap. Oh, this is beautiful. Look at this. No, but we'd better keep our eyes skinned till we do. If we're caught napping, Stinker will come out on top pretty quick. Not, but what it would be safer for you to have a wink now, master. Safe if you lay close to me. I'd be dearly glad to see you have a sleep. I keep watch over you, and anyway, if you lay near with my arm around you, no one could come pawing you without your Sam knowing it. Oh, they're just so good of buddies. Yeah, Frodo is going to have, or Gollum has that private trick for them. Oh, man. I love it. Sam's just like coming up with an excuse to put his arm around his friend and just like have a good sleep with him. That's so cute. I love that so much. They're such good friends. And they're like truly, truly friends now. This is incredible. Yeah, it is such good tenderness. Oh, it's truly lovely. All right, We have another page. That's it. Another 2 pages, actually. And so Gollum found them hours later. When he returned, crawling and creeping down the path out of the gloom ahead, Sam sat propped against the stone, his head drooping sideways and his breathing heavy. In his lap lay Frodo's head, drowned deep in sleep. Upon his white forehead lay one of Sam's brown hands, and the other lay softly upon his master's breast. Peace was in both their faces. I love that it's through Gollum's perspective here. He's looking at them, and he's like, oh, companionship. I wish I had that. Gollum's perspective. Gollum looked at them. A strange expression passed over his lean, hungry face. The gleam faded from his eyes, and they went dim and gray, old and tired. A spasm of pain seemed to twist him, and he turned away, peering back up toward the pass, shaking his head, as if engaged in some interior debate. Then he came back, and slowly putting out a trembling hand, very cautiously he touched Frodo's knee. But almost the touch was a caress. For a fleeting moment, could one of the sleepers have seen him? They would have thought that they had beheld an old weary hobbit, shrunken by the years that had carried him far beyond his time, beyond friends and kin, and the fields and streams of youth. An old, starved, pitiable thing. But at that touch, Frodo stirred and cried out softly in his sleep, and immediately Sam was wide awake. The first thing he saw was Gollum pawing at Master, as he thought. That is so... Oh. Oh. I'm at a loss for words on this one. Oh, I don't know. Oh my gosh, this is devastating. This is wildly surprising. I love the descriptors here. Gollum looked at them. A strange expression passed over his lean, hungry face. What's he hungry for? He's looking at these two hobbits who are like truly friends and truly have love. And for the first time in hundreds of years, Gollum looks and realizes that that's what he wants. The gleam faded from his eyes. And then they went dim and gray and old and tired. A spasm of pain seemed to twist him, and he turned away, peering back up toward the pass, shaking his head as if engaged in some interior debate. Then he came back, and slowly putting out a trembling hand, very cautiously he touched Frodo's knee. But almost the touch was a caress. For a fleeting moment, could one of the sleepers have seen him? They would have thought that they beheld an old, weary hobbit, shrunken by the years that had carried him far beyond his time, beyond friends and kin, and the fields and streams of youth. An old, starved, pitiable thing. Oh, this is so sad. Gollum, don't betray them. Oh. One little moment, one little glimmer of hope. This is so devastating. Oh, thinking of Deagle. Oh my gosh, that makes it so much sadder now. Oh, yeah, I think he's hungry to be loved. Oh, this is a devastating line, guys. Oh my gosh. That paragraph is going to haunt me. Wait, Tolkien actually cried here? Oh. Andrew, what did Andrew say? Wait, Tolkien confirmed Smeagol's repentance was genuine here. That's what makes it so sad. No! This is so sad. What does true repentance look like? Oh. Man. Tolkien partly cried because of the part that's coming up too. Interesting. Okay, we got a good part coming up. Ay, ay, ay. All right. Let's finish the chapter. That came out of nowhere. But I was just like talking how beautiful that moment was between Sam and Frodo. It seems like saint-like. It's like a Pieta. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I never know how to say that right. La Pieta. It's this. You guys know this, right? One of the most famous works of art of all time. This is what it feels like to me. Right here. This is Sam. This is Frodo. And Gollum is right here in the little corner, looking down, saying, I want that. That was a crushing paragraph. Oh my gosh. Brutal. Oh, Dennis, thanks for the 5. Dude, thank you so much. So the gray eyes are Smeagol and the green eyes are Gollum? Is that kind of how it goes? Dennis, thank you so much. It really means so much to me. Thank you. Oh, wait, you saw a replica in Milan? I've never seen the original. I've seen a replica. I forgot where I saw a replica of it, actually. But I saw a replica. Man. Okay, let's keep reading. That is one of the saddest paragraphs in the book. Okay, here we go. Let's keep going. But at that touch, Frodo stirred and cried out softly in his sleep. And immediately Sam was wide awake. The first thing he saw was Gollum pawing at his master as he thought. Hey, you, he said roughly. What are you up to? Nothing, nothing, said Gollum softly. Nice master. I dare say, said Sam. Where have you been to, sneaking off and sneaking back, you old villain? Aw, Sam said if he's going to think he's the hero or the villain, then Sam just outright calls him a villain, so Sam is the one that kind of damns Gollum here. That's actually so sad. Sam determines what he is. Yeah, he destroys this moment for Smeagol, which is really sad. Gollum withdrew himself, and a green glint flickered under his heavy lids. Oh, he's back to Gollum. Almost spider-like he looked now, crouched back on his bent limbs, with his protruding eyes. The fleeting moment had passed beyond recall. Sneaking and sneaking, he hissed. Hobbits always so polite, yes, nice hobbits. Smeagol brings them up secret ways that nobody else could find. Tired he is, thirsty he is, yes, thirsty, and he guides them and searches for paths. And they say, sneak, sneak. Very nice, friends. Oh, yes, my precious, very nice. That's interesting that he says that. Whoa. He actually says friends. Has Gollum ever used the word friend before in the text? I feel like he has. But that's interesting that it's like Smeagol is thinking they're friends and Gollum is trying to pervert his mind. And he's like, oh yes, friends, my precious. Very nice friends you have here. Showing him my freaking camera battery died. Showing him no, they're not good friends and you need to kill them. Give me a sec. Always right at the end, the camera battery just dies. Yeah, this is Gollum's best moment, I think, paired with Sam's worst moment, which is just not a good combo. That's so sad. But it says here, look at the next sentence. Sam felt a bit remorseful, though not more trustful. Sorry, he said. I'm sorry, but you startled me out of sleep, and I shouldn't have been sleeping. And that made me a bit sharp. But Mr. Frodo, he's that tired. I asked him to have a wink, and well, that's how it is. Sorry, but where have you been to? Sneaking, said Gollum. And the green glint did not leave his eyes. This green glint is for sure Gollum. Green versus gray. Oh, very well, said Sam. Have it your way. I don't suppose it's so far from the truth. And now we'd better all be sneaking along together. What's the time? Is it today or tomorrow? It's tomorrow, said Gollum. Or this was tomorrow when hobbits went to sleep. Very foolish, very dangerous if poor Smeagol wasn't sneaking about to watch. I think we shall get tired of that word soon, said Sam, but never mind, we'll wake up master. Gently, he smoothed the hair back from Frodo's brow, and bending down, spoke softly to him. Wake up, Mr. Frodo, wake up. Frodo stirred and opened his eyes, and smiled, seeing Sam's face bending over him. Calling me early, aren't you, Sam? He said. It's dark still. Yes, it's always dark here, said Sam, but Gollum's come back, Mr. Frodo, and he says it's tomorrow. So we must be walking on. The last lap. Frodo drew a deep breath and sat up. The last lap, he said. Hello, Smeagol. Found any food? Have you had any rest? No food, no rest, nothing for Smeagol, said Gollum. He's a sneak. Ah, no! Oh, this is so crushing. We were so close to Gollum actually finding like legitimate like rehabilitation in this moment. Oh. And so Gollum's sitting there calling himself Sneak now. He's a sneak. Oh, dang it. Come on. That sucks so much. Sam clicked his tongue, but restrained himself. Don't take names to yourself, Smeagol, said Frodo. It's unwise, whether they are true or false. Smeagol has to take what's given him, answered Gollum. He was given that name by kind Master Samwise. The Hobbit knows so much. Frodo looked at Sam. Yes, sir, he said. I did use the word, waking up out of my sleep sudden, and finding him at hand. I said I was sorry, but I soon shan't be. Come, let it pass then, said Frodo. But now we seem to have come to the point, you and I, Smeagol. Tell me, can we find the rest of the way by ourselves? Hold on. This isn't how they split. Come, let it pass then, said Frodo. But now we seem to have come to the point. You and I, Smeagol, tell me. Can we find the rest of the way by ourselves? We're in sight of the pass of a way in. And if we can find it now, then I suppose our agreement can be said to be over. Okay, so he's talking about him and Sam. You have done what you promised, and you're free to go back to food and rest. Whatever you wish to go, except to servants of the enemy. And one day I may reward you, or those that remember me. No, not yet, Gollum whined. Oh no, they can't find the way themselves, can they? Oh no, indeed. There is the tunnel coming. Smeagol must go on. No rest, no food. Not yet. What a good end to the chapter. Yeah, you thought the stream froze. It probably didn't freeze. It was just me having a panic moment. Yeah, passive-aggressive Gollum, but also Sam's got to restrain himself a little bit more. He shows no wisdom in this moment. The value of wisdom, to know what to say and what not to say. Come on. That is... He has such a beautiful moment in talking about tales and stories, and then all of a sudden, Gollum's literally about to he's standing on this rock, literally about to turn them away and find another way through, and he wants to join them in their companionship, and he's about to be rehabilitated, and then all of a sudden, Sam wakes up and says, What are you doing, you sneak? You old villain. He calls him an old villain. Samwise the half-wise. Sam is many things but not wise. Exactly. Why do they call him Samwise? Come on. Yeah, very reminiscent of Sam actually revealing the ring. Dang, this is a devastating bit of writing here. That was a good chapter. That was such a good chapter. Got a few essays here for sure. Man. That was crazy too. The Witch King being able to like sense Frodo and like calling him. That wasn't necessarily in the movies. That was kind of in the movies, but not to the extent that it was in the book, obviously. And then the Witch King riding on the horse was so crazy and cool. And then Frodo's weeping in his despair. And Sam has a great moment talking about stories and tales, and then he ruins Gollum's repentance. Gollum's real repentance. That is actually crazy. The one part in the story that apparently makes J.R.R. Tolkien cry. Wait, look what... Nerd of the Rings did a theory where Gollum did repent in that moment? No way. He did a whole video. Was it like a long video? Like, that would actually be fascinating to look at. Sam is a stout heart. You'd be hard-pressed to find a more loyal friend, but he is called half-wise for a reason. Faramir was right to reprimand him. 100%. I think Frodo should look like Christopher Reeves. Samwise actually means half-wise? Wait, Samwise literally means half-wise in the book? That's actually so great. How does it mean half-wise? The thing is, Sam is perfectly reasonable to think Gollum was sneaking. He was. I was going to write an essay about that from the prior chapter because I am Samwise too, because I was so creeped out by Gollum going ahead of them and not staying with them. That was one of the creepiest sections of that chapter. Like, Gollum would just not stick with them. All of a sudden he's going ahead, and then he comes back, and then he goes ahead. Like, what was he doing all that time? Was he literally going ahead to check on Shelob or something like that? Because that is a long way. And that's like a lot of stairs. Stairmaster over there. He literally was sneaking. So, I mean, he's speaking the truth, but he's not speaking it like with discernment, I guess. Probably to find the best path. Don't know what it would have been permanent. We find that in the next chapter in how Gollum thinks of Shelob. Interesting. Tolkien actually says what would happen if Gollum repented. Oh, does he say that? Does he say that in a letter? That would be so fascinating to read that. Oh my gosh. That moment. One of the saddest moments in the entire book so far. It's in one of the letters. Someone send me that letter. Someone like throw it into the Discord or throw it in a YouTube comment. I want to see that letter. Basically, Gollum commits suicide to destroy the ring and save Frodo. Man. Yeah, seriously. It is like this is like part and parcel, like what an addiction is like you have to be careful around them, but you have to also like use your words carefully so they don't like, regress. It's not necessarily it's not Sam, and like, we don't want to blame Sam for this thing. Gollum still should have had more power than, if someone wakes up and calls you a villain, then you got to have more self-control and like truly repent. Like what they had there was a truly beautiful moment. Our letter has slight spoilers. Okay, I don't want to read the letter yet. Maybe we'll do a long reading of all the letters. Man, that is just tragic. Yeah, I'm not gonna watch any like the what if Gollum repented videos yet. Maybe in like midway through the next book, or I'll just read them, or I'll just watch them after I finish this, because that's when I actually want to check them out. I don't want to like get any spoilers for anything. I'm like so nervous to touch on any of like the Tolkien channels that are the good ones on YouTube, because I don't want any spoilers for anything. I'm trying to protect my first time read, even though the movies kind of screwed it up for me. That was a legitimately shocking moment. That was one of the most shocking moments that I've ever read. That was crazy. Gollum truly felt repentance in that moment. Legitimately crazy. Man. Do I have a plan for how frequently stream the chapters? They really just happen when I'm done writing the essays for those chapters. So it's usually going to be about 3 to 4 days per, probably like twice a week. But some chapters, like the Faramir chapters, was when I really started doing the live reads. But those chapters just had a lot of like detail that I wanted to write a lot about. These ones have a lot of detail, but they're more like thematic. So these ones are going to be really good. So I think I'll write like 4 essays about these chapters. I think like 4-ish, maybe consolidate into 3. Because I do like a pace where I'm like still going through the books, not like quickly, but like I still want to get through this book. I love writing these essays, but I don't want to write like 7 per chapter, even though I could probably write 20 per chapter. Because I still want to keep up like a healthy reading pace. So, The Stairs of Cirith Ungol, obviously today. And then probably, so let's say I have an essay, the last essay on the previous chapter is going to come out tomorrow. And that's on, hi Wes. You're a cutie, buddy. Come here. The last essay for the chapter is going to be coming out tomorrow. And that's just on a quick little thing that I did today. On the little note that we had. It's like one of my favorite Frodo moments in the previous chapter. And then, 4 essays. So let's say, Thursday, Friday, maybe one the weekend, and then the Monday. Maybe we'll do like a live read this weekend. Yeah, live read this weekend for the next chapter probably. Maybe like a Saturday. Saturday live read would be kind of fun. Saturday afternoon. Oh, I'm definitely not letting all the work. This isn't even work to me. Like writing these essays is the best because I just get the process through my thoughts. It's so fun. I still love, I like none of this is work to me of like writing these essays. It is just pure enjoyment. I get so much joy out of writing these things and like just being able to live process my thoughts through all of them. So also, I didn't watch the video for reasons, but I want to thank you on the content warning on that one for. Oh, good. I'm glad that I'm glad that I had to put something on that because that one's a tougher one. I'm glad that worked. Yeah, I don't think I've been like I hope I've been like pretty good on some of those topics because I think any like those really touchy ones I'm pretty careful on like really making sure there's some kind of warnings for them, but yeah, whenever I touch on like heavier topics like that, definitely want to have some kind of warnings. But man, the end of the Two Towers is to the film. Already we have a big cliffhanger for Return of the King with Sauron's army marching out to attack Gondor. Yeah, that is such a good point. The cliffhanger that you have here is like, because how does it end in the movie? The movie ends with the ending of Helm's Deep. That's crazy. That feels like forever ago, which I guess it is like halfway through the end of this book. But then Frodo and Sam end their journey talking about the tales. They're like on their way to. They just left Faramir's presence. They're on their way like through Ithilien to Minas Morgul, rather than they see the army coming. Dang, the book. That's such a good point. The book really gives you a lot of tension for that moment. Man. So much of the Two Towers book is in the Return of the King movie. Yeah. I feel like that. Yeah, even the last like 3-4 chapters of book 3 are all in Return of the King too, with the Palantir and them going on like rushing back to Minas Tirith. That's actually crazy. Movies have a totally different timeline. I'm so excited to get into a Return of the King. I feel like it's going to be so different. I can't wait. Man, that was a journey, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Another live read probably coming this weekend, I'm guessing. I'm guessing like a Saturday. And then we'll just keep plugging along. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. That's all I got for this one. Got some essays coming out that we'll have. I also have, other stuff. Brandon Sanderson. I'm going to start reading some more. Real quick. Actually, everyone stay for a quick second. I'm looking to break into sci-fi. I don't do sci-fi all that much. Sci-fi is not like my chosen genre. I've been more of a fantasy than a sci-fi guy. I'm looking to break into sci-fi. And do some like essays about it, do some videos, because I'm gonna do Game of Thrones. I'm thinking either I kind of want to do Dune. I don't know how fast I want to go through Dune. Dune. The question for me right now is Dune or The Foundation. Or is it just called Foundation? Yeah, like and subscribe, guys. Like the stream, subscribe, so more people watch this, and so I can potentially do this more full time. I'm gonna have to. I probably have to slow down some of the videos in the next few months because it's gonna be busy for me with some other work kind of picking up. Dune, classic sci-fi. I love Asimov's Foundation. I've heard what is Blade Runner, the actual book title of Blade Runner? Like, do cyborgs dream of electric sheep or something? I've heard that is so sad. I've heard that's a book that like people have cried over. Do androids dream of electric sheep? Ooh, classic Warhammer. Okay. I haven't gotten into any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm already spread thin, but this is like, so I'm like lightly planning it for like after I finish the Lord of the Rings. Because then we'll do the Hobbit. You know, there's probably going to be there's probably going to be essays that come out of the Hobbit, obviously. Maybe there's not going to be as many essays per chapter. Maybe, I guess like maybe like 2 per chapter or something like that. Because it's still a children's story, but maybe that'll propel me to write, you know, thousands of essays on children's literature because I love children's literature. So as soon as we finish the Tolkien series, I'm going to break into another series and introduce another 1 or 2 onto this channel. But then we'll just kind of go from there. Do androids dream of electric sleep? Life-changing? Hitchhiker's Guide I've heard is great. Dresden Files I've heard is good. Yeah, I've heard that. I would definitely do historical novels and historical fiction, but I want it to be, yeah, it's got to be, I don't know yet. I still need some good recommendations. I still got a long list of things that I want to do. I've heard Hitchhiker's Guide. One of my friends, or one of my brother's friends, says Hitchhiker's Guide is actually like the best book they've ever read. You'd vote for my historical novels? Give me some good ones. Hitchhikers for sci-fi. I've heard it's one of the best. It's on Goodreads as one of the best. I think it's like the second best or second most popular other than Dune. Kenneth Lewis Roberts. I'd want to do the space trilogy too. I've heard that there are some good Star Wars novels too. So I'll break into those. We'll break into those eventually. I do want to, one thing that I want to do with this too is like make it into like, if you haven't read some of these books, then you can kind of like read along with me as we're doing some of these essays and just doing live reads or something like that. That'd just be fun. That's my life's goal. But anyway, guys, I got to run. Thanks for joining me on the stream. We'll chat about this more in Discord if you want. Give me some more recs. The Revenge of the Sith novel is far superior to the movie. It's interesting. How about Heir to the Empire? I heard that one's great. I heard that's like the best. Anyway, yeah, I'm out, guys. Got to run. This was a wild chapter. This was so good. Oh, so good. Alrighty. You can keep chatting. I'll give you a little goodbye in the chat. Ready? Right here. Here's our goodbye. How good is this? Come on, guys. Goodbye, fair Lady Galadriel. I need an outro scene with this right here. All right, I gotta run, guys. I'm gonna let this play for a minute and then I'm off. Stream ending soon. I needed to say that.